book is really about how we should treat people who struggle with this food. And that's me too. So I struggle with this food, but I didn't move to America. He had some stress in his life that I didn't have. So we're all very vulnerable to this stuff as an addictive substance. And I think I personally have been addicted to it for a really long time. And we know that 10 to 20% of people are.
So the big discovery with your brother was the motivation have to come from inside.
Right. So, I mean, this is like psychology 101.
Yeah.
But it's such a profound thing to discover for a doctor, because what doctors love to do is give people more or less unsolicited advice. My patients come in, I say, stop smoking, eat well, take these pills. It's very hard. What I don't do is try and understand, why are they smoking? Why are they drinking? What's their housing like? How are they stuck? And most of us are confined by our circumstances, by our environment. So advice is always terrible. So if people get only one thing from reading the book, it would be, watch your own plate, mind your business, don't nag other people, because we know if we nag people who live with excess weight, it will drive them to gain more weight.
The same thing about workouts.
Right.
You could do the advice, people like, try this, try that. And if they're not motivated inside, they probably do it for a couple of weeks and they just...
It's the same for everything. And I see it with my kids. I can nag and push my kids toward things, but if I let them discover it on their own, then they own whatever it is. And if I don't nag my daughter to do her piano practice, eventually she sits down at the piano and she does want to be good at the piano. The more I nag her, the more it's terrible for both of us.
So a large part of the food debate in Norway focus on the personal responsibility. Is it all about willpower and self-respect to do something with your diet, or are we, probably all of us, somehow trapped in a food system that makes it extremely hard and expensive to live a healthy life?
There are 3 myths I try and bust about weight in the book. And the most important one is that your weight has to do with your willpower. The arguments around willpower are dead, they are buried, they have no scientific merit, no moral merit, and no economic merit. So we could spend the next 2 hours talking just about this. If we look at the graphs of when everyone started to gain weight in America, in 1975, all ages, men and women, black, white, and Hispanic, everyone starts to gain weight at the same time. Now, you cannot persuade me that elderly Hispanic women, middle-aged black men, and young white women all lost moral responsibility at the same moment. What happened was the mass introduction of industrially processed foods into the diet, and that grew and grew and grew, and weight went up and up and up. Anyone listening, the sad thing is many people who live with excess weight have the experience that it is their fault, that they are choosing this food, that they could not go into the fast food shop, they could not eat the donut. In fact, I would suggest, if you're someone who's food motivated like me, you have genes that predispose you toward different food behavior, and you have about as much control over not eating junk food that's in front of you as an alcoholic does about not drinking a drink, someone who's addicted to drugs of abuse, or a cigarette smoker. If someone's a smoker and someone else is smoking in the room, they will start smoking too. So these are addictive foods designed to make you purchase them and to make you eat as much as possible. So willpower is not it. There's no evidence for it, but most importantly, when we design policy using willpower, it doesn't work. So we've done this in the UK, where we have very bad advice and basically just say to people, try and eat good food and do more exercise. And we have 30 years of data showing it does not work. Whereas when you change the food environment, we know it does work. Same with smoking.
So the way you see it, obesity is a question of the food system and addiction rather than identity, and people also throw in laziness in there.
Laziness has nothing to do with it. So many of my patients who live with excess weight, I have patients who've lost my entire body weight twice. So they go up to 200 kilos, they lose 100 kilos, they go back up to 200 kilos, and they lose another 100 kilos. Now, the the will it takes to lose 100 kilos is astounding. I couldn't do it. I doubt you could do it. Most people can't. They do it, but the food environment forces them back. So it's very simple. It's a collision of genetic vulnerability with the constant marketing of this food. Is it all addiction? I think people listening to this, there are two types of people, basically. There are people who just casually eat too much bad food because the bad food is sold to us as healthy. It's all our bread, it's our breakfast cereal, it's all our nutrition bars and health products, it's our ready meals, it's everything. And once those people have knowledge, they can actually quite easily cut down. So like lots of us drink, I don't know, a few years ago, I was drinking a couple of beers every night. I don't have a problem with alcohol. As I learn that, you get older and you start learning more about alcohol, I now drink beer on my Friday nights. Some people can do that. But then there are people who have an addicted relationship. And that's a smaller group. That isn't everyone who lives with excess weight or obesity. But those people are going to struggle more. It's vexed because in the UK, at least, people who are addicted to this food, many of them cannot quit because it's the only food they can afford. Ultra-processed food, its success is it is, at the point of purchase, incredibly cheap for people. And kids always eat it because it
tastes good.
Well, it doesn't taste good necessarily. I always people say that. We have actually quite good evidence it's not tasty. If you go and buy a takeaway burger and fries and you put it on a plate with a knife and fork and you try and eat it like a normal meal and you ask yourself, does this taste good? You'll find it doesn't. But it's still desirable. It's somewhat like cigarettes. If you smoke a cigarette, does it really taste good or are you just addicted to it?
Yeah.
So but the evidence that the food is for some people addictive is very, very strong. And for those people who are addicted, they are as addicted as smokers are or alcoholics or people who use drugs of abuse.
Desirable is a much better word than good, yeah.
Perhaps the discovery I made writing the book that most interests me and which is the focus now of a lot of my work is the idea that wanting things and liking things are completely different subjects. We can like things we don't want and we can want things we don't like. And there are we see it with people. We often want people we don't particularly like. And we might like people we don't particularly desire. The same is true of food, drugs, lots of things. I don't like my phone, but I want my phone.
Sure. How is it possible that this one dietary factor can drive so many disease mechanisms? You've labeled and listed some of them now. And if so, how is it possible?
It's pretty simple. I mean, what I am proposing and what Marit Kolbe is proposing, what lots of people are proposing is this very simple idea. If you build your body and you fuel your body using synthetic molecules that don't occur in nature, mixed together in ways that you have never encountered in your evolutionary history,